Well, hello everybody and welcome back to Pastel Estate's regular Facebook live stream wine chat. I'm Wendy, this is Barry, and we're the owners of Pastel Estate in Margaret River, and as many of you will know because you've been joining us regularly, we try and do these wine chats on a Thursday evening to stay engaged and talk to you about what's been going on in the vineyard and in the region in Margaret River, and enjoy some wonderful wines together. So as always, please keep the comments coming, and I've forgotten to turn the comments on, so let me do that again so I can see when you're commenting. There we go. Oh, hi, So's already on. Hi, So, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, So.
So please keep any comments, any questions coming, and we'll try and answer them. Send us lots of hearts and likes, it keeps us going. Pour yourself a beautiful glass of wine, tell us what you're drinking, and let's settle in for half an hour or so of nice wine chat. One of the big things we want to talk about today, and I'm sure many of you will have seen it already because we couldn't contain ourselves and have already announced it over our social media, is a very exciting award that we've just been presented by the Australia-New Zealand Boutique Wine Show. And while Barry tells us a little bit about that award, I'm going to start pouring the wine, which... Oh, you're going to start pouring the wine. Okay, Barry's going to pour the wine.
We've got this beautiful Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay.
So
are you pouring the wine and talking about the show, or am I?
I'll pour the wine. I'm better at that than you are.
So I keep talking? Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. We're very polished, as you can see. So the reason we're pouring the 2019 Pastel Estate Sauvignon Blanc is because it has just taken out a trophy, no less, from the Australia-New Zealand Boutique Wine Show. We were so privileged and excited to discover that we'd received a lot of medals in this year's show. 3 gold medals, obviously including this one, and a gold medal for both of our reds, our 2017 Cabernet Sauvignon and our 2017 Shiraz. But then the news that we took the top prize for the best Sauvignon Blanc was so exciting. We thought obviously that's the drink to pour today, and we'll talk a little bit about that in the context of everything else that we're doing. So cheers.
Cheers.
Please again let us know what you're tasting and drinking, and keep the questions coming.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I think that is probably most exciting about this particular award and the trophy is one, the competition. So it's not just the whole of Australia that we're up against, and everybody knows that Tasmania make incredible Sauvignon Blanc, so does Adelaide Hills, so do so many places on the east coast of Australia. But it's also, of course, up against the New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs, and they are rightly famous. I have to say that this, as we'll talk about a little, is very, very different in style to those Marlborough Sauvignon Blancs that have made that region and New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc so famous. The other thing I think about the show, which really means a lot to us to get the award from them, is the judging panel that particular show is renowned as being a tough one. It comprises of masters of wine as well as some of the leading critics in Australia. So it really is a very high benchmark that they set. And if you do get a trophy or do get a gold medal, and we got a few from them this time, then you know you're doing something right in terms of the wine that you're making.
Super exciting. And can I just also thank So. Not only is she the first person to send us a comment and dial in, she's drinking a very glass of this 2019 Sauvignon Blanc herself. Congratulations and cheers to you too,
cheers,
So. So why don't we talk, and some of you will know this already, although I don't think we've opened this vintage before on one of these live streams, but we can talk a little bit about this wine before we discuss tasting and some of the feedback from the judges. It's the 2019, so a really beautifully cool vintage in Margaret River. It was very wet in the winter, so really nourishing for the vines. It did continue to be wet and rather cool through the spring, so that obviously affected some of the fruit set and flowering. So we ended up with actually across the region quite a low yield for 2019, which in my view just makes it even more special and even more to be treasured. And then of course we had with those cooler temperatures, a much longer and very gradual ripening period. We actually harvested the 2019s about 3 weeks later than we usually do in a vintage. So it was a long vintage, it was a cool vintage, but it was very, very gradual, and so it allowed all the natural acidity to be retained, all the beautiful aromatics in the fruit, really fine tannins, and of course the end result is what you see in this glass. So a really beautiful vintage in Margaret River, producing this really stunning Sauvignon Blanc fruit, which of course our incredible winemaking team, Bruce Dukes and Remy Guys, then crafted very carefully and very gently into this trophy-winning wine. And we loved it. Oh, and hi, Jan, thank you so much for joining us. And you have a bottle in your wine rack too. That's excellent. Cheers. I'm very, very happy to hear it. Tell us what you're drinking now as we chat. It's always good to know what other people are drinking and tasting and you know, sharing views. So I don't know if that's the vintage, the winemaking. Barry, do you want to remind people how we make this wine and what makes it that bit different from the New Zealand style?
Yeah, definitely. I just to really follow on from something that Wendy was saying, that the cooler years really do, if you manage to ripen the fruit, which we almost always do in Margaret River because the climate is so great, that you do get the reward from this balance of incredible ripe flavors and aromas, at the same time as retaining all of the lovely freshness and the acids of the wines. And it does seem that Paso del Estate in particular, we seem to shine on the years that are slightly cooler,
more difficult,
and more difficult. Yeah, and the hang times of the grapes are longer. It just seems to be that we're able in those years to really get incredible concentration and texture on the wines.
And can I just say, and I think that's testament to our wonderful viticulture team, because I think it is in the difficult years when it really does show the value of all that care that Andy Ferrara and his team take in the vineyard, meticulous attention to managing the vineyard and the vines and the canopy, and I think we're very blessed to have such a great team that can help us reap the rewards of meticulous care in the vineyard during what are tougher years to actually farm.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, those are the years where you are at most risk of disease, botrytis, mildew. It's wet, and if you get a warm day, it's very humid as well. And, so there's a lot of work that goes into those more difficult years, but ultimately they are, from what we've seen, the most rewarding in terms of the fruit that you get at the end of them. Yeah. So just a little bit about how we make this and how it is different. Obviously we start with great fruit off the vineyard. It's usually picked while it's still dark and temperatures are at the lowest they will be for the day. The reason for that is really to preserve all of those wonderful aromatics and flavors. You will lose those with the heat as soon as the grapes have been picked. And then it goes straight to the winery and into a very cold press. Again, the idea with white wines, especially aromatic whites like Sauvignon Blanc, is to retain as much of those lovely aromas and flavors that you can. And the best way to do that is to keep it incredibly cool as you're going through the process and into fermentation. Probably the two differences I think that set this wine apart from many in the region, but certainly from our New Zealand counterparts, is about 20% of the juice does its ferment in brand new French oak barrels that are then used for Chardonnay. So it is you're getting there is a backbone of wonderful oak that goes through that 20% and gives it texture, it gives it structure. It allows the wine to age better as well, and that is something which they would usually do in France, and certainly in Sancerre, where sort of Sauvignon Blanc in France is sort of the traditional homeland of Sauvignon Blanc in France. They would use oak. It's a very light touch of oak.
It's to be clear, we're not aging it. We're just fermenting it in the oak, and we're actually aging it back putting it all back together in the tanks, and we're stirring it on the lees, of course.
Yes, and it's only about sort of 15 days that it spends in there, but that is enough, and then it gets blended back with the 80% that is just been in steel tank, and what you get then is just a more complex layered wine with different texture in it, different tannins, and as Wendy is saying, then we stir in on the lees, and maybe just explain what you mean by that.
Yeah, so just fort batonnage, I think, is the French term. So a fortnightly stirring, some of the yeast deposits and other sediment that comes from that fermentation process. We're leaving the wine on the very fine lees. This is not a robust oaked wine, and for 5 months with that gentle stirring, and then we fine it and filter it so it becomes crystal clear like this, and bottle it 5 months later with all that natural acidity. So it's really fresh. This is not an oaked or smoked wine, but it has got that balance, and I think this is a quite nice segue into how Remy, our senior winemaker, describes it. This wine show is very exciting, but of course it's during the pandemic. We're not going to go flying to Sydney to receive our trophy in person this year, which is a bit of a shame, but not the end of the world. What we did do is accept it virtually, and Remy Guys, our senior winemaker, has recorded a small video, which I think the show is going to be distributing when they publish their results fully tomorrow. And he sat there and he was talking about how special it is to be awarded this trophy, and he said this is a Sauvignon Blanc, but perhaps not as you know it, and I think he's referring then to New Zealand, obviously, because it is very similar to the French style. And he said what we have is texture. What else he said? Texture, structure, and ageability.
Yes.
Texture, structure, and ageability. That really personifies not only what Passel Estate tries to do with all of our wines, but really the Margaret River approach to fine wine. And it's that ageability point which I think is different, and that comes from this oak ferment. And that's I'm gabbling on, but can I also just mention, we had somebody, because this is relevant, one of our wonderful customers in Singapore, she has visited the vineyard, and she fell in love with Passel Estate and the wines, and bless her, when she got married earlier this year, she poured our Sauvignon Blanc for her guests here in Singapore, and she deliberately chose 3 vintages, the 17, the 18, and this 19, because she has also fallen in love with how very gradually over time it does develop, and those slightly older, hardly aged at 17, but slightly older vintages, you're getting a little bit more of that savoury note coming through, but it's still fresh as a daisy, still utterly fresh and acidic and beautiful. So we were really very privileged to be poured like that at her wedding, and I thought it was absolutely remarkable and really special for her guests that she poured 3 different vintages. It's very cool. But sorry, I keep interrupting you. I'm getting so excited. We haven't talked about tasting it.
No,
Taste
I
it.
have been tasting it.
And come on, guys, tell us what you're drinking and send us some comments and ask us some questions. I'm delighted that So and Jana are with us with the Sauvignon Blanc. So beautiful on the nose.
And one of the hallmarks of our Sauvignon Blanc, and it is, again, slightly unusual for Margaret River as a region, because usually in Margaret River they would blend Sauvignon Blanc with Semillon, which also does incredibly well in the region. So either have a dominant Semillon or a dominant Sauvignon Blanc, but with the other varietal in there. Like all of our wines at Passel, this is 100% varietal, so it's pure. It's got no other varietals in it.
Yeah, pure
so it's
Sauv Blanc.
a very pure expression of the varietal, obviously, as it's growing, and it grows in the Margaret River region and in that climate. But it does produce this incredible nose to this particular wine. Every
really
year
pretty.
it really does.
A bit of lychee in there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful tropical sort of nose.
But not too tropical. It's not. I personally, it's kind of restrained. It's not a sort of passion fruit bomb.
No.
But it's a very elegant.
It's almost white flower you get.
Yes. Yeah.
It's so it really is an easy drinking wine in terms of hot summer days in Margaret River in the summer.
And
down on the beach.
Here in Singapore, where we are again, thanks to the pandemic. Although I promise you, all of you, we will be back at the vineyard for the next live stream, for sure. Flights are booked, we'll be there. But we're still in Singapore right now, and this wine is really, really good here in the tropics.
So maybe you should taste it.
I did, I've been tasting it. I wanted to. I wanted to say, there was a comment that the wonderful Erin Larkin, who's one of the Halliday writers, who writes beautiful tasting notes, said when she gave us, I think she gave us 94 points for this wine. She said, and there's a slightly sort of saline effect, and she said, we call it sea spray, but it's sea spray, and she said it was like the sea on your skin on a hot summer's day on the beach, and spoken like a true beautiful Australian. But I think there's a little bit of that too. It's a really
It's just got great.
gorgeous.
It's just got a great sharpness to the wine in terms of the acidity. It's fresh,
but it's got
but
the structure
it's still
and
got the
balance,
structure
yeah.
and the fruit. It's a beautifully, well, like all of the wines that Bruce and Remy make. It's just beautifully balanced.
Yes.
It's got a lot in there. There's a lot going on, but it's
Complex,
all everything is balanced and as where it should be, and that is really a hallmark of their winemaking. They start with great fruit, and they make sure that the end product is just as beautifully balanced wine at the end of it.
Reflects that fruit. So Jan, you're the only kind people who've commented so far. Tell us what you think of the Sauvignon Blanc, if you've been drinking it or are drinking it right now, and anything you'd like to share or ask about it. I think it's also quite a good idea to talk about pairing, particularly as we come up to Christmas. So I was getting quite excited thinking about this, because obviously you're going to have your oysters with this before you start your Christmas lunch, for sure. And I think, it's really beautiful with a salmon or a poached salmon, something traditional like that. And I'm talking about this, but I am not the chef in our house. Barry is the chef. But I think, because this is arguably a more structured Sauvignon Blanc than perhaps others, this will go really well. It's got that acidity. It'll go really well with the Christmas turkey. It'll cut through some of the fat, the goose or the turkey, but it will stand up against it and it'll be delicious, right?
Yeah.
Don't you agree? He doesn't sound like he agrees. Does
No, I actually do agree. I think the acid in the wine is a perfect foil, if you like, to the richness and the fattiness of goose, for example. One of the dishes that traditionally I've always made for Christmas in Margaret River has been a recipe that I got from an Australian chef called Karen Martini, who used to be a chef at the Melbourne Wine Room and then later at Icebergs in Bondi.
Yeah, we lived in Sydney, we used to go there.
She's written some amazing cookbooks, but one of her little recipes that I stole and I still do most Christmases is a sourdough crostini, and on top of it is just a butter poached oyster. So you've got the lovely richness of the butter with the salinity of the oyster, and then obviously the crunchiness of the crostini, and it's probably Wendy's favourite sort of snack, if you like.
I think it's my favourite course on Christmas Eve, darling. I know you go to a lot of trouble to make a lot of beautiful food, but it's my favourite.
Yeah, it takes about 20 seconds to make. But,
and even less to eat, but it goes really well with this wine.
It would go perfectly
really well with this wine, yes. So I don't know if any of you have other ideas. I mean, it's always such a pressure, isn't it, on what to serve at Christmas and pair, unexpected but well.
I think the reality with a wine as fresh as this, but still complex and a little bit of oak structure to it, is seafood is always going to be a perfect pairing with it, whether it's prawns or whether it's lobster or crumb or marron that we would sort of get, which isn't seafood. It's a fresh river crayfish that that's sort of natural to the Margaret River region. Southwest of Australia, just absolutely beautiful, sweet sort of lobster meat or marron meat. This would be perfect with that as well. Anything that you're looking for, that really lovely sort of fresh wine to go with it in warm weather.
Yes. Or you can just enjoy it on its own.
Which I often do.
On the beach.
Which we
often do as well.
So, yeah.
But I mean, it's obviously not a quaffing wine. It's quite a serious Sauvignon Blanc, but it is just so easy to enjoy. So come on, look, I've got 59 hearts, 29 likes. I know there are more people listening, and
Where
I
are
would
you?
love some comments and some questions. So otherwise, we're just going to be chatting to ourselves and getting slightly tipsy on Sauvignon Blanc on this late afternoon. Maybe I should tell you, whilst we're waiting for some questions, about our Christmas offerings at the estate. So we've just made live on our website, both in Singapore and Australia, and obviously anybody visiting the tasting room, our Christmas hampers. And you'll be pleased to know we have one called the Summer Soiree, which has 4 bottles no less of this fine wine included, and a couple of bottles of our equally beautiful Chardonnay. And we also have a festive reds selection, and also the ultimate celebration, which includes our Lot 71 reserves. And they're all available. They're really well priced, a little bit of a special price for a special time of year. And even more exciting, actually, is that between, I think it starts next Monday, the 20th of November. Is that next Monday?
Yeah.
For 12 days from next Monday, so 20th of November through to the 1st of December, we're going to run a little 12 days of Christmas promotion. So if you buy one of our hampers during that period, either online or in the tasting room, or by emailing one of us and asking us to sort it out for you, which we're always happy to do, we will send you in return a voucher, a Christmas gift from us, which you can either choose to redeem on more wine during the course of next year, or even against one of our wonderful experiences in the tasting room, where wine tasting, nature and wine walks, Funa wine pairings, bespoke chocolate bonbons paired with this beautiful wine. We have a lovely white chocolate bonbon with this wine, don't we? All of those experiences. So all you have to do is buy one of our hampers or 6 bottles between the 20th of November and the 1st of December. Ideally, if you're online, put a note in the comments whether you prefer a voucher for more wine or a voucher for an experience. Obviously, some people will be wary of whether you can travel to Margaret River within the next 6 months or so, but we'll keep these vouchers open with a nice long redemption time period, validity. So we thought that'd be a nice way to sort of give back and say thank you and help you stock your cellars ready for the end of the year and all the Christmas visitors. So that's something we've got going on. And we have borders are still closed in WA, so we haven't got any big events lined up. Last year we had the summer solstice. We're not doing that this year because it's really difficult for people to travel and see us. And we have loads of lovely customers that come in from Perth and other parts of WA. But I know there's a bit of it's hard for people to keep coming back at Christmas and that time of year, even from Perth. So we look forward to seeing you when you come back, probably after Christmas most normally. But we'll certainly be putting on an event for Chinese New Year. But for Christmas, it's really this online hamper. And Megan, the lovely Megan, who actually helps lead our tasting room, has joined us as well. And she's drinking a lovely bottle of this too with our lovely wine dog, Toby. Hi, Megan. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Toby.
Hope you've had a good day in the tasting room today. So they're the Christmas hampers. If you're in our wine club, you've got another extra special Christmas surprise coming with your November wine club run that's just finished. We've popped a little Christmas gift in there for all of you in Australia and all of you internationally. And all members in Singapore, don't worry, I know you've received your wine already. Your gift is coming slightly separately and slightly later because Singapore's just a little bit easier to distribute to than the whole of Australia and Hong Kong and elsewhere internationally. But so there's a little surprise coming your way too. So we're feeling quite festive over at Pastel Estate.
And we're also looking forward to sort of welcoming our international visitors back at some point, hopefully early next year.
As soon as possible,
there are so many people here in Singapore who are desperate to come back to Margaret River to visit.
Even the East Coast, all of our friends in Australia.
Absolutely.
It's even interstate travel. I know it's been hard for everybody.
It's going to be, I think when the borders do reopen, we will definitely have to have a party at the vineyard to celebrate.
We will be celebrating, celebrating ourselves. I know you've been back quite a lot during the pandemic. This will be my first time that I've managed to go back, with the difficulty of travel and quarantine. So I'm just so excited to get home. And as I say, the next live stream, I'm very sure will be from the estate. So that'll be something to look forward to. I know we tried previously when Barry was there with Jackie, but we had problems with our Wi-Fi. We'll get that sorted. We'll make sure we've got Wi-Fi, and we'll be live from the estate next time.
Yes, we can't wait for that. That will be wonderful. We'll show you some of the estate and just being there and basically being able to see it. It really is such an amazing tasting room.
It's beautiful. And with all our nature conservation and all the wildlife there, it's just a very peaceful, lovely place. And as many of you know, because I know so many of you
visited, absolutely.
Us, which is wonderful. I guess I was going to say, we're talking about our international club members. Some other exciting news, besides the trophy and all the awards, is that Pastel Estate is now available in Hong Kong. We do already send it to our wine club members in Hong Kong, but it's available in Hong Kong. We have we've just sent a container across, a pallet, not a full container, a pallet across. Obviously, shipping delays being what they are, it has only just docked, but it's available. And if you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, we'll tell you more about where you can find it as those accounts start receiving their allocation and opening up. But one exciting place in the interim is Bacchus, which is a brand new, some of you will know, wine restaurant, a really exciting wine restaurant. It's got 800 wines on the list. It's led by an incredible leading sommelier, Hervé, he won the award for being the world's third best sommelier or something crazy like that. They're opening this beautiful restaurant this month in Hong Kong, and they have this incredible wine list and lots of incredibly rare wines under Caravan, and we are obviously extremely privileged to be representing Margaret River on their wine list. So those friends of ours in Hong Kong, wine club members in Hong Kong, you might want to check that out.
Yes, please go and experience it.
It looks like an amazing place, and of course the minute we're able to fly into Hong Kong, we'll be doing some events there for our friends and club members as well. And as I say, it'll be available elsewhere through L'Imperatrice and others. So follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and you'll be able to see that. We're still getting tons of hearts and likes, and I do love that. But we still don't have any questions.
We're up to 185 hearts, but no questions.
Somebody asked us a question, otherwise I think we might be running out of things. We haven't got much time, actually. We've been talking to you for about 25 minutes, and I'm supposed to stop before we hit 30 minutes, I'm told, by people who know more than I do about these kind of
social media
and live streams. But is there anything else, anything else you'd like to share about what you're drinking, or what you'd like to ask? The 2021 vintage is looking really good.
We
recently did the barrel selection and confirmed we are going to make a Lot 71 Reserve from the 21 fruit. It's so incredible, and Bruce and Remy are very happy.
I actually had the privilege of tasting, doing a barrel tasting at the winery a few months ago of that fruit, and even at this very, very early stage in its development, it's clear that 21 is going to be one of the best vintages we've ever produced, maybe potentially the best vintage we've ever produced.
And that's across the region, really, isn't it? A lot of Margaret River had a great vintage,
as Wendy was saying earlier, there has been a theme over the last, I guess it's nearly 5 years now, of wet winters. So there is plenty of water around. It's cooler than it has been in the years that preceded that, and that is good for growing grapes. It's great that there's water there, but it's also great that the grapes have a longer hang time to develop. There's obviously, that does mean more work in the vineyard, but ultimately, if you do the work, you are rewarded.
Wet winters, we love wet winters. We're not so keen on wet summers.
No, we're not.
We'd like nice, dry, gentle summers. Well, look, if nobody has any questions, I've probably kept you going, kept you from dinner. Hopefully, So and Jan and Megan, you're enjoying your wine this evening. Thank you very much, as always, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we really look forward to seeing you from the vineyard next time. And obviously get in touch if you would like to know more about any of the Christmas wines or the specials we have, or you'd like our help sending something special to your friends and family. We have also got online, this is quite new I think since we last spoke to you, we've actually got some gift vouchers available online as well now, so if you wanted to send a voucher or gift on something to your friends and families, you can do that. And always just write us a note or send us a little comment if you want us to personalise things for you, send wine gifts out, with a handwritten card. We're very happy to do all of that. We love making it a really special experience for everybody who receives one of our beautiful boxes and opens it and gets to enjoy some of our beautiful wine. So cheers, everybody. Thank you so much. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, just make sure you get some of this while you still can. It's amazing trophy winning some of your blog. It is a stunning wine. So make sure you get hold of some of this and drink it over Christmas and enjoy it.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.